calorie dense foods. I'm gonna do calorie dense foods is what I'm trying to do. I feel like everywhere I step, there's something sticky. It was a really good night. I was totally psyched to get up at the mothership again.
I was stoked to have you, of course.
Yeah.
They're lucky to have you. I mean, they need women. They say
Yeah.
they need women. So I do believe that they do kind of need to not be discriminating or cherry pick per se, but like cultivate and curate talent is it's very important. So I'm glad that you had that opportunity and you rose to the occasion.
Yeah. Well, I doing the career that I've done for the past 20 years, then it's like, I think it prepared me really well to be able to like get up in front of people right from the first time I did it and not be too worried or too nervous, because it's the same feeling I get every time I would go to teach a math class. Like I've got my notes, I've got my lecture, I know what I'm gonna say, but yet in the couple of minutes before I go up in front of a classroom, I always have that little nervous feeling like, am I even going to deliver this lecture well? And as soon as I stand up in front of that classroom, like all that goes away, and I always just deliver the lecture, and it always goes well because it's like a switch flips, So when I got up on stage the first time a year ago to do stand-up, it was the same thing. I mean, I was nervous as hell, but I knew what I was going to say, and so the switch flips, and then you just perform, just like I always would have to do in front of my classrooms. And if it goes well and you get laughs or a couple chuckles or whatever, or even if you just pull it off, you just say what you wanted to say with all the nerves and everything, then that's a success in itself. But luckily, I got enough laughs from the start that I was like, I think I can keep doing this and be successful.
Yeah.
And obviously honing the craft, because the only way to do that is to get in front of crowds and just see what works and what doesn't work. And adjust your jokes and adjust your cadence and, the mic and all that stuff. Like those are the little things.
The nuances.
But the most important thing for me is like just bringing the authenticity of myself to my comedy. Because I remember after the first set I did, our friend Caleb, he gave me the most simple advice, which is like, it's funny because it's like I already knew it, but I wasn't applying it to myself, which I think people do. And he said, what you said was funny and it was clever, but we don't know you until you know me. And then, okay, now I can, talk about how Tap Cola invented MILFs, but I'm not gonna talk about that until you know me. So, if you're gonna see 3 minutes of my material, it's gonna be all about me and my life and my kids and you, my boyfriend, and that kind of stuff. Right now, I'm just trying for people to get to know me. Mothership, it's an audience, so it is a different experience because we all know what it's like to do open mics, and it's just how it is. You're doing the same thing everybody else is doing. You're getting up. You're sitting there trying to think about what you're going to say. You're looking at your notes. You are respecting the other comedian on stage, or at least hopefully we're respecting them, and trying to hear what they're saying because you want to support the funny things that they're saying. You want to laugh at their jokes so
you
they get
help but go over your own shit.
But you can't help but be in your own head. So, when the hardest people to get laughs from are other comedians. When we stand out on the streets and have conversations with our comedian friends, we have the most hysterical conversations ever because no one's on stage at that very moment, and a lot of times we're killing so much time that you can't think about yourself for 3 hours straight. You know what I'm saying? Like you have to.
No, that's unhealthy.
That would be unhealthy, right? But when you got that,
but I do it anyway. No.
Well, yeah, you go in and out of it for sure. But when you have that 15 minutes,
Still can't remember it.
That happened. Sometimes you gotta not think about it for a little while because you're like, now I'm actually screwing it up in my own head because I've gone over it too many times. Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to have your tent poles, you know what I mean, in your mind.
Yeah.
you know, it's this joke first, then this joke, then this joke, then this joke, so that you can fill in the structure around it as you go. And that's another benefit to telling jokes that are about your life, because, you know, regardless of how carefully you've constructed a joke, if it is an authentic joke about your life, you're not going to screw the whole thing up out of nervousness, because it's your story, you know?
Yeah, good point.
It is important, though, that you don't leave out a detail that sets up your punchline. I think my preparation, 20 years of teaching prior to.
Yeah, because like that's the thing. Like you made it look so easy, and that's why I was like a little naive at first, and that's why like I'm just kind of like a year later where you should be. Obviously, like I'm just kind of getting to that point where I can actually even remember jokes and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, I mean, I would have to say when you're just starting out, it's all about joke writing and delivery.
Right.
And so what I would say to someone like yourself that is like, delivery is so important. However, if you don't have the meat and potatoes, if you don't have that writing first, the delivery is not going to matter. We see comics like that all the time where, it's there's not a lot of substance, but they're putting on a show.
Yeah.
And, that can be incredibly entertaining. Can it be sustained, right? So I feel like when you always have the good writing behind you, then the delivery keeps coming and coming and coming the more and more you deliver it. Because you start to see, like, oh yeah, when I punch that way, when I put more emphasis on that, it actually really got a laugh. So I'm going to keep doing that. But there's no delivery without the joke writing, in place first. So, you're doing everything in a perfect trajectory, in my opinion. I just think that everyone has their own trajectory and their own pace that, it's going to go for them. And I think things went for me at a good pace as far as, picking up momentum with, getting enough people thinking I'm funny and laughing, and that kind of stuff just came maybe faster because of my preparation in previous work that I've done,
Yeah.
But I've also...
Or you're just more likable.
It's just really overrun by dudes. A lot of whom, some are better than others.
Well, that's for sure.
So when there are talented ones, so when there is a talented comedian, regardless, of gender, you should be able to,
I mean,
get your 5 minutes, if you will.
Right.
I just like to laugh, and I never in a million years thought about writing jokes or doing anything like that. It's just a good application to a useless English degree, I suppose. That being said,
it's not useless.
It's cool when you can it's funny to it's interesting, whatever, to make people laugh at something that you constructed. So
yeah, I have a degree in business, and that was male dominated. Working in business was incredibly male dominated, and then I was one of the only women getting a master's in mathematics. Luckily now there are a lot of female math professors. I'm older than they are as well, so that makes a difference too.
It does. I was gonna say age has a big.
Yeah, because if they're all guys, but they're all 25 to 32, I'm 50. People already are kind of looking at me like their mom.
Right.
So, that might help a little bit in I'll maybe show a little more respect to an elder if I'm lucky,
I think that's.
But the way I carry myself is different, of course, because I'm an older woman, right?
Because it's very important. I don't want you to lose that traction. I don't meant it because I think you have something that, I don't know jack shit, but I think you have something that nobody else has.
Oh, well, thank you. I mean,
you have a spark or something special.
Well,
and I think people are starting to take notice now.
I feel that, and I'm trying to put that out, and then you just hope that they feel it back, because it's like I said, it's those connections, and that's the best part, because when you see the women in the crowd, their faces light up,
right?
And so that feeling is just something that, you're on a high. This is our 5th trip here in a year, down to Austin from Boston, and. We've
Boston to Austin.
He said it. He did it.
When I was turning 49 last summer, and you were oh, you should watch this podcast, Kill Tony. You love comedy. You always said you wanted to try it. And being at the point that I was like looking for something to do now that I'm like entering the second half of my life, I'm entering the 50th year of my life. So over the last year, I was like, I don't know how much time I'll have to devote to this, but this is going to be the thing. And once we watched that, Kill Tony, last July of 2023, I mean, it was like within a couple weeks I booked tickets to fly down for my 49th birthday, so that
You're obsessed.
Yep. And so I kind of like think I have Tony Hinchcliffe to thank for reminding me as I was sitting there those months, weeks and months, because it was into my summer, thinking, what am I going to do now? Like, what's the new thing I want to take on next? Because, I have those periods in my life when I do that. And watching that, he reminded me like, oh yeah, you never tried stand-up. You haven't tried stand-up. You've been, putting that off kind of thing in your life that you wanted to try, that you've always wanted to try.
I'm really glad that you did, because I never would have
tried
it in a million years.
Yeah. So he reminded me, because I saw that anybody could do it.
You're just good at it. Some people are just naturally good at some things. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're just better than I. And that's okay.
Well, I do have a very extroverted, vivacious personality.
Yeah, I very a very low energy.
Yeah, but you're incredibly clever. Like, when you say certain things, I'm just like, how did you even come up with that in your brain? That's why I like to jump on it immediately and take a note of the stuff that you say in our lives, because I'm like, that's a joke right there. Like, we'll get to it later. Sometimes you say shit that's so funny that I write it down just to remember for later, and then 10 seconds later, I'm like, oh, I already got the joke out of it, because it was essentially already a joke to begin with.
I love just writing funny one-liners. A couple of fucking,
I love writing them too.
You can pack a couple of fucking, in 60 seconds, you knock fucking people's heads back.
With one-liners or two-liners, whatever,
Yeah, no, two-liners.
Two-liners,
Exactly.
If you want to get two
That's
sentences.
more what I mean. Yeah, that's what I mean.
A two-sentence
Yeah,
one-liner. Yeah.
That's more what I'm saying.
Yeah, of course. Oh, absolutely. And then you can
Boom,
pack those
boom.
in. Yeah, exactly. You do it so well. It looks like you're enjoying doing it, and you're getting such really good.
No, I was gonna say that's the thing.
You have a talent for that.
So
I don't.
that's the thing. Well, that's sweet. Thank you. And that's why I'm so happy for you getting because I'm totally content with continuing just to practice and do that stuff. I really enjoyed putting things together and the art of the production.
Yeah, and that's important.
And seeing.
We need people like you.
Well, yeah, and
The talent.
Well, it's also, but and you can't just expect to get in places without also, well, I mean, you can if you have certain things to offer, obviously, but it's fun. It's cool to be able to tell jokes and shit too.
Absolutely. Oh, and it's all part of it. So, I think it's really important that you get up
So having to focus on two things, trying to write jokes, and then really focus on delivering them and memorizing them and stuff, while memorizing and focusing on all the fucking technical aspects of behind the scene shit of just putting things together.
Hey, nothing
Jesus goddamn Christ.
worth having comes without hard work.
Adobe alone took me a month to fucking.
But look at how accomplished you feel, and to master a skill that not a lot of people have is a beautiful thing. So that's what makes you.
Well, I have a beautiful mind.
That's what gives you confidence in life is accomplishments.
Yeah, and sitting around on your ass and not going out and doing anything isn't going to get you any accomplishments. It's just going to make you bitter, and then you're going to see people.
And you wouldn't have anybody to blame but yourself, right? My generation just had to do that because the boomers took all the fucking jobs, and they also didn't really raise us. I mean, they kind of did. They gave us the basics, but not a lot of guidance. So it was kind of well, figure things out, and then also there won't be a lot of jobs. I'm curious what the temperature is because I think
About 42 minutes. All right. Well, I think that was a good conversation.
I think it was great.
Yeah.
Especially because there's so much that you can get from it. I might go down to the pool for
All right. Well, I'll shut it off. All right.
Later, guys. Thank you.